If you are joining me, I would love to know in the chat where you're from. And I would love to know if you feel like commenting. I would love to hear what you've got going on. So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to give my spiel, my history from diagnosis to now about all the surgeries, all the things. And then at the end, I would love to hear your questions. So I hope to see some in the chat. That's how we're going to do questions. And welcome. My name is Gillian, and I am coming at you from Texas. And I'm so glad that I live near Houston because Houston has amazing eye care for us googly-eyed folks. So I would be happy to share my doctor's information, and I would love to post that in the chat. And if I don't do that, I will definitely post it in the show caption. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you. Let's see. When I was about 4 years old, we had a thing, because I'm an 80s baby. We had a thing called Saturday morning cartoons. Okay. It wasn't just cartoons, the kids now. You guys are so blessed. It wasn't just cartoons 24/7. It was very specific times. And these are very serious events. They were after school cartoons. And I think maybe in the morning, depending on what you had, what TV situation you were working with. And they also had the biggie was Saturday morning cartoons. And you had whatever was your flavor. For me, it was Channel 13 if you're in Houston, ABC. That was the deal. It was about 2 hours of glorious, uninterrupted entertainment with the best commercials and everything. So, 4 years old, I'm watching my Saturday morning cartoons. And my mom, this is how we learned that something was very seriously wrong with my vision. My mom comes in, and I guess I hadn't been doing this, or I guess something had gotten progressively worse. But my mom comes in and sees me sitting in front of the TV like this. Gillian, what are you doing? I'm watching Saturday morning cartoons. Kind of need you to let me finish doing that, right? And she immediately started getting me into every ophthalmologist, or she started out with optometrist office that she could. I believe she said she went through, I want to add this to the number. I know total number of doctors that I have seen for my condition has been 16. So I don't know how many she went through. I would say she went through about 11 or 12 until she got to the wonderful Dr. Hittner, who is here still practicing in Houston. And every doctor before her, ophthalmologist, would look at my eyes. They would bring in people. The room would start to be filled with like nurses and techs and other doctors. Like, come in here. You got to see this. And they would say, we're very sorry. Your daughter's going blind. And my mom would not accept that for an answer. God bless moms. So she would take me to the next doctor, and they would all say the same thing. I'm very sorry. Your daughter is going blind. And again, kept going until she got to Dr. Hittner in the med center, who I remember looked at my eyes a very funny way. She would take the whatever this scope is, I should know by now, and she would do this. Bounce, and then she would bounce in each eye. And I just was thinking, it's totally normal, right, for kids to go to the ophthalmologist, or the eye doctor is what I called it. It's totally normal to just spend the whole day at an eye doctor, and you get your eyes dilated, and they have to come in and they have to use the special drops. People that have ELEP know what I'm talking about. The special drops that are the strongest drops they have available. They usually pull them out of a drawer. They have a red cap. And so I just thought, this is totally normal. My eyes took anywhere from an hour to 3 hours to dilate. So I would have to sit in this room. And it was actually really cool because Dr. Hittner had like this play area, like a playground in her office. So I would just play until like my eyes got really fuzzy. Because I didn't know it at the time, but my pupils were the size of pinheads. And so they were incredibly difficult to dilate. So I thought that was totally normal. Like, oh, don't you go to the eye doctor for and you're there for like the whole day and then you get like McDonald's ice cream at the end? And kids are looking at me like, no, never have even been to an eye doctor. So after that, Dr. Hittner says, I think she will go blind, but I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. And we're going to help her. And I cannot imagine, as a mom myself, I can't imagine the relief that and the hope that my mom had that minute. So I would love to show you the pair of glasses that I came home with. Hopefully I can do this without showing that I'm just wearing shorts. Give me a second. Cool music plays. Cool music is playing. Yes. So here we have it. These are the first. This is the first pair of glasses that I ever had, and I'm not going to put them on because my head's grown significantly, and yeah, you can tell they've been beat up. They're not even as thick as you would imagine them to be, but there was definitely coming out of, there's definitely some lens coming out there. I ended up having cataracts at age 4 and having severe nearsightedness. And so, yeah, I stayed under Dr. Hittner's care for years and years. They would look at my chest bone to see if it was curved. That was kind of like their, very, what word am I looking for? Not official, not professional way of determining if I warranted the need to go see a cardiologist for Marfan syndrome. And I did not at the time. And so I never went to a cardiologist until my 20s, where they started to really want to rule that out. And when I went to Mayo Clinic. So I was under Dr. Hittner's care until I went to college. And when I was in college, all of a sudden one day, my vision completely went out in my left eye. My left eye has always been the troublemaker. And I bet if you're watching this and you have ELEP or something similar, that you have a troublemaker eye too. I mean, both eyes are problematic. At the time, so when Dr. Hittner saw me, she did not know what was happening to my eyes. She didn't know the name for it. She'd never seen anything like it, of course, as you guys have probably heard that many times. And so I just was watched until about I think I was 20 when the lens in my left eye dropped. And that's when I completely lost vision except for light and dark in my left eye. Well, it was never a great eye to begin with. It was always the struggler of the two. And my right eye was dominant. So at the time, I called my mom and I said, hey, left eye just went out. Oh, no. Well, do you need to come to Houston to see anybody? I could probably wait. I got college. And so then I became graduate. I was a graduate. I graduated from college. It didn't really interrupt me too much in my driving because, like I said, right eye was always so strong. But then my right eye started to give me problems. And that's what got me back into seeing doctors that to look into a surgical option. When I was a child, they said they do not want to touch my eyes. No way. They were very reticent in even discussing that. Scared every doctor I saw to death. No way. We're not touching that. I don't know. There's something going on. Her lenses are not stable. We don't know why. There was no injury. I was just born that way. But I did find out why. So decide to go get my right eye looked at. And I was very disgruntled at the time because it was actually starting to interrupt my life to have my right eye be not as strong as the left. So we go to doctors, not touching it, not touching it. We go to, my mom looks up the head specialist for uh, lens surgery in Houston. We get in to see him. I mean, he's been on TV. He is the guy. We get there and he has me fill out. He says, "Yes, I'm going to do. I can do the surgery to. I I can do the surgery. I've never seen anyone like you, but I can do the surgery to get the left eye lens stable." And I say, "Well, the left eye is so stupid. I don't care about that. How about we just focus on the right eye?" And he goes, "Well, we're going to focus on the one that's not so great first, the one um, that sees less well than your right eye first. We're going to focus on that and get that strong, and then we can talk about the right eye," which at the time makes a lot of sense. He goes, "But I'm just, I mean, I had signed, we had set up the surgery date, and he said, I'm so nervous though, still. I think I want you to go down to Baylor and talk to this brilliant ophthalmologist slash geneticist, Dr. Richard Lewis. He sees all the weird cases, which at this point I take being weird as a source of pride. So uh, you can go see him first, and he can just confirm that putting a lens, taking the natural lens out, doing a lens implant into the anterior chamber is the way to go. Make sure you tell Dr. Lewis that." Okay, I get into Dr. Lewis, and he is a whole character in himself, super funny guy. He decides to change the course completely for my eyes. And he says, "No, no, 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 that's not where I would put the lens. And I want to talk to my surgeon, Dr. Marshall Bose Hamill, who did 8 out of my 10 surgeries. I want to talk to him and see if he'll take your case because we've never seen anybody like you before, and see what he says, where he would put the lens." So um, I go to see, and then also Dr. Lewis recommends and sends me out to do genetic testing, which I don't get done for 2 years because they don't have the technology to even test at that time. And another thing, had I gone in college, they would not have had the intraocular lens sutures and things even available to even do the surgery. So this was such groundbreaking surgery, which is pretty cool, but it's also stinks because you don't get the pamphlet. Listen, I had gallbladder sludge and I had my gallbladder removed, and there was a pamphlet. Now, let me tell you, anybody that's had their gallbladder removed will tell you, you cannot, one doesn't just eat enchiladas and smile afterwards. So, yes, the pamphlet lied, with the gallbladder stuff. That's another episode. But at least it makes you feel warm and fuzzy. So you've got Ectopia Lentis at Pupillae. Well, they didn't know what to call it yet. So go see Dr. Hamill. Now, if you want a surgeon, I recommend getting a surgeon that has the attitude of a Top Gun pilot. You need that because they require courage to work on eyeballs, right? They need to be a little bit cocky, I think, a little bit arrogant and full of themselves. And I mean that in the best way, okay? Because God used Dr. Hamill and Dr. Lewis and Dr. Holz. And so by this time, I was completely switched over to this clinic. So they totally poached me, which is fine because Dr. Lewis and Dr. Hamill both confirmed, in order to do surgery for ELEP, this is very important, patients to put the lens in the posterior chamber, not the anterior chamber. If you take home anything today, please remember that posterior chamber. So the posterior chamber should prevent glaucoma. Yes. So, and the posterior tumor is just in the back, like right where the lens is. And so Dr. Hamill says, yeah, I'll do it. I'll take your case. Again, never seen anybody like you. And how did I learn this? That he'd never seen anybody is when I said, do you have any literature or pamphlet? And he goes, no. So they're very funny. Yeah. So I go in for surgery. Let's just say when you have no sight, it's very easy to go into a surgery because you really have nothing to lose. So I really wasn't too scared at this point about surgery. Now, they also required one of the best vitreous doctors on hand. His name is Dr. Holz, and he is fabulous. Again, all in Houston. Praise the Lord. And so he was on standby just in case there was an issue of retinal detachment and he had to get in there. This doctor operates on like 1 pound babies. Very skilled. I am so thankful for the team that I had. We get in there, he puts in a ring and he sutures it in place. I like to tell people like this. So if you are talking to somebody and you want to tell them what ELEP is, well, first of all, they're going to be super bored. Okay. Um, it's kind of boring because people don't really understand. So here's what I like to do. I tell them to picture a trampoline. Everybody knows what a trampoline looks like, and everybody knows the springs on the side, right? There's a circle. You've got the springs that connect it to the base. In my case, and in probably a lot of people that have ELEPs cases, your springs are missing or they are janky and not holding the trampoline, which is your eye lens, in place. And your eye cannot refract and focus and get the light it needs to work properly. So that is what ELEP is. Ectopia Lentis at Pupillae means dislocated lenses of the pupil. And you're going to have some pupil problems. For me, it was a very small pupil. And for a lot of people, the pupil could be in the wrong people. It could be in the wrong location. So when they went in to operate for my eyes, they had to stretch the pupils with hooks. Fun story. I said, well, now my pupil looks star-shaped, which I guess it kind of always was irregular shaped. It's hard to tell when you have brown eyes anyway, which is kind of a bonus for me, I guess. I don't know. Although I just want to stop right here and say, no matter what color your eye is, and no matter what shape your pupil is, and no matter scars or what, your eyes are beautiful. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise. You're very special having googly eyes, and you can lead a full, happy life. And just, so our eyes are different. It actually makes this kind of cool, right? It's kind of like a fun fact. I have googly eyes. That's really cool. Who doesn't love googly eyes? I mean, come on. They're super fun. They're instantly cute. Yes, they can be very annoying at times. And I wish that I could see like everybody else. I would hope I wouldn't have to have surgeries, but I'm so thankful to be able to see. And I just wanted to share that with you, that don't let your eyes not give you hope, because there's always hope. Okay. So surgery takes about an hour and a half. They put in a ring to stabilize the new lens. Excuse me, 1 second. Had a nose situation there, excuse me. They put in the new lens, and I wake up and I see everything is yellow, and things are upside down. Like my vision is upside down. And I'm very upset about that. As you can imagine. I was like, well, it's better to not see at all than to have yellow and images upside down. Well, you haven't used this eye in 8 years, so we don't know what's going to happen. And I just kept hearing that. We don't know what's going to happen. with the ability to have a Facebook support group and with people we can connect with technology with people all over the world who have a similar situation. What a huge blessing that is. My mom and I, we didn't have anybody that had ever seen this or been through it. It's just another huge blessing. So just wanted to give more hope. So eventually things started to flip around and yellow started to go away. I had to do a lot of drops, so many drops. Stay on your drops, do every drop that they tell you, do it. And then I'm struggling to remember. I do have a bit of memory loss from a car accident. I can talk about that in a second. And I did have a repositioning. I'm just trying to remember if the repositioning came first or if my vitrectomy came first. Hmm. I think it was the repositioning that came first because um, I was struggling to see. So my after the surgeries, my eyes like to grow something called a wrapper. I do not know the medical term for that. I'm sorry, but it looks like somebody took Vaseline and rubbed it over a filter and made it so smeary. So when the yellow and the flipping went away, the smeariness came over my eye, and I was just like, "It's very hard to see through this eye, doctor." And I went to the doctor weekly for 2 years. Every appointment was 5 to 7 hour wait. If I can get out of there in 3 hours, wow, we are celebrating. I had a little daughter at the time. She would come with me. Um, I didn't really put her on the iPad. We just gave her like a DS or some books or some magazines, or we drew with her. People helped me get there. It was no joke. It's a long time. I learned a lot in the waiting room that I was waiting upon the Lord. The smeariness, that was called a wrapper. Well, they didn't know what to do with that just yet. Then I noticed one morning I woke up and everything was jiggling and moving. And I was like, oh no, the lens is not stable. So they go in, I have to get repositioned, and that needs to be pretty quick. They do not want it to be wiggling in there because it can take out the retina. And that is like, you do not want your retina detached. So, got that repositioned, and then the smeariness came back, but I started to see floaters. And floaters, like there was something in my eye, and it started to be really red and really, really painful. Just a throbbing, like the whole eye socket just killed. And so I went in and they said, oh no, you have endophthalmitis. Now, if you go into an optometrist or an ophthalmologist, you just say that word, and that is like Freddy Krueger might as well have just walked in. It's a scary thing, and a lot of people that have that, it's just, let's just say it's very scary and you can lose your eye. So I had to go back to my great friend, Dr. Holz, who is the top vitreous guy, back of the eye. And they did a vitrectomy. Now, vitrectomies are very interesting. Remember, I told you you have to jazz up your story so people will listen to you, right? So what they do is they go in and again, and by the way, general anesthesia is your friend. And I got knocked out for every surgery because I do not want to have to sit there and have my eye open and have people no, no, it's a horror movie. Heck no. So they go in and they suck out all of your vitreous, which is like your jelly, your eye goo. I hope you're not eating. And then they put in saline because what happened was endophthalmitis is an infection of the vitreous matter. Something had gotten in during one of my surgeries. So they go in, they suck it all out, they put new stuff in. And what's great is I don't have to worry about anything getting infected in there anymore because it's all like man made in there now. They were very scared about me flying, which I did have to fly a week later. They were nervous that the pressure would be messed up. Everything was fine. And then the wrapper came back again. So, with this wrapper, I was not able to see well. Um, then I had to have another repositioning. So, we were up to 4 surgeries in the left eye. Right eye is getting worse. And we are about at year 2009, started in 2008. They take out they reposition the eye and they tell me, this is the last repositioning we can do. If it doesn't hold in place, we're going to have to start from scratch and take out the lens for a good amount of time. So they reposition the lens and get it sutured back in there, suturing it in place. This time it actually really hurt because it was a different surgeon that did it who was not as she was not as smooth. She was a more she inexperienced, but not bad. But she was I had to get in and had to get it done. And I'm thankful she took my case. Um, she repositioned it and I have some extra scarring in this eye. And I still couldn't see. And so Dr. Hamill said, why don't we do a YAG laser? So I count these as surgeries. Yes, I do, because you go home and you feel like you have been operated on. It's not fun, but it's very fast. And what they do is he's cutting with the laser the wrapper that keeps trying to grow over my eye. Think of like, like a spring roll, maybe that people eat spring rolls. That's kind of like how I see it in my mind. The wrapper, I don't know. It's not visible to people, but it's an internal thing that's growing. I guess your eye's doing it to protect itself. That was a weird thing that they did not think was going to happen, and it happened. The YAG laser was helpful, but it didn't really help remove all of the smeary vision. So I begged the doctor, months would go by. Can we please try yagging it one more time? Because they're still not getting the vision that we were hoping it would get in the left eye. And the right eye is getting worse. Um, so I end up, he says that I browbeat him. And I'm very sorry about that, Dr. Hamill, if you ever watch this. I browbeated him into 4 total yags. The last one, he was like, this is it. I'm not doing anymore because at this point, maybe your eye just never saw well enough at that. And that's the best we can get it to do. I don't even know the vision I had. Maybe it was like 20 in the area of 2100, like 28. It was terrible. It was not great and so smeary, so smeary. I like a windshield covered. So I get the YAG surgery and I go home and it's very painful and I just go to sleep. We're at April, I think this is 2009. I wake up the next day and I notice how bright the room is. Oh, it's so bright in here. Why is it so bright? I can see out of this left eye from 8 years, now 9 years of no sight to seeing. It was it was a great moment. So I ran around the house singing, I can see, and going outside and running everywhere. It's just a huge, it was a miracle to me. And so thankful for that. And then I was like, let's get going on the right eye. So at the time, I had, I had, I, due to ELEP, I have a connective tissue problem that was not able to be addressed. We went, there started to be pain in my hip, and the pain was so bad that I could not bear weight for a year. So we ended up going to Mayo Clinic. So there was actually a time in my life when I was a pirate. I had a patched eye as I was healing from surgeries and crutches or a wheelchair sometimes. And I went with it. I went full on pirate, and that was great. So I get into Mayo Clinic and I thought, well, I took a little detour in the eye thing. I go They cannot ascertain if I have Ehlers-Danlos. I definitely don't have Marfan's. They weren't sure. My heart looks okay, so they couldn't figure out what to do. So I get back home, kind of, I went to the Disney World of hospitals, and they couldn't help me. And then Dr. Lewis, super smart guy. I call him the guy who invented flubber because he seems so smart. He said, "Let's get you to Dr. Dianna Milewicz." Genius woman. She actually in Houston is a famous, she's just brilliant geneticist. She says, "I have actually seen people like you before. There's about 50 that are known worldwide, and they manifest these dislocated lenses without any trauma. They're just born like this, which is what I got going on. They don't have Marfan's." She goes, "We just now have the technology to test which gene has been mutated. And I think it's one of these specific ones. And so we're going to test it. That'll be $500. Whatever. I already went to Mayo. What's another $500? We get the test back. And sure enough, it is a mutation on the Adam TSL4 gene. TSL4 gene. Something about coding protein. So for me, while most people, she said, everybody that she had seen, it presents in the eyes, but for me, it also presents in other connective problems. So I've dislocated my hip. Fun story. I kicked my own face at drill team tryouts. I got in. Couldn't stay though, because, my hip was dislocated. And my back has exploded. That's a rupture, code for the worst rupture they've ever seen. So check yourself, people that have ELEP and specifically Adam TSL4 gene mutations or deletions, you probably have some joint problems. Not so great. But get to the right eye. I finally get in to get that taken care of, and the right eye is even worse. It's even worse, y'all. It takes 2 hours of surgery. It takes 2 rings that are, I don't even know how they have 2 rings in there, mishmashed together. It was in such terrible shape, but it hung on, the champion eye. So because it took 2 hours to do the surgery, the light that the doctor was using burned my retina. And after the surgery, I could see, but the wrapper started to grow. So I knew there was something wrong because when I looked over at my husband, Matrix had just come out or was a few years old, but he had no mouth. My husband had no mouth. And other people didn't as well, but it was most notable on him. And I said, "You don't have a mouth. I think something's wrong with my eye." So we went in. They thought I had a stroke. Went through the whole thing. They had to inject my eye. Like, I was like, "I'm not knocked out for this. Wait a minute." Anyways, they had to do like needles in my eye. Hold still. And determine, well, it's not a stroke, but you have light toxicity. It will never go away. Sorry. At this point, I was just so thankful to see anything. I wasn't blind in that eye after the surgery, which is a huge risk. Sorry to say that. So they decided to, send me on my way. And then Dr. Hamill was able to do the YAG, and it opened up, and I was able to see because he learned that YAGs stop the wrapper and help save your sight. So I'm up to 10 surgeries now, and the light toxicity, guess what? It actually did go away. It took about 6 months. And now I forget that I have it, and there's the burn mark is still there. And so when I go to my optometrist, which by the way, I only went to an ophthalmologist for years and years and years after until I found a very good optometrist who just happens to be my friend, and I trust her. And so now I go to see her. So yeah, when I go see her though, and I get the optomap, just the fact that we can do optomaps, you guys, and not have to get your eyes dilated. Ah, we live in a time. The future is now. So every time I see that optomap, I go, oh yeah, sorry. I have this, the thing with my lens, my retina got burned. I'm okay. Cause it kind of makes them go, "Ah." The hope, um, I would be remiss if I didn't give you um, my testimony real fast. Um, I was such a worrywart until I was saved, until I accepted Jesus into my heart and he started working on me. My dad had cancer and he passed away, but a month before he passed away, he accepted Jesus. His testimony and my testimony go together. Shortly after he passed, excuse me, um, I had severe endometriosis, might also be connected to the connective tissue, led to hysterectomy. And I also had, then I began my 10 eye surgeries, plus the hip not working. So I spent a lot of time in waiting rooms. And there's a verse that brought me hope. And it's Genesis 50:20. You could say it's my life verse, I guess. And that is, but what was meant for evil, God turned into good for the saving of many lives. It's because of God's grace that I am here, that I can see. He worked through brilliant, capable, skilled surgeons and doctors and nurses. Um, and I am so thankful for the medical community. I am just so thankful to see every day. Every day I see, I'm so thankful. Um, there have been days where I have really studied people's faces without them knowing it, just because I don't know if I'm going to go blind or what's going to happen. I was told I have 5 to 10 years on these lenses. I'm rocking 15 with my left one, which is huge praise. I don't, they don't, because there's not very many people like that are like me, like us. We're special, and so you've got to own that. But also, it does make you nervous because you don't really know what to look for. But what was meant for good, what was meant for evil, God turned into good. And because of everything I went through, I'm now able to comfort with the comfort that I received. And so I would love if you just reached out, if you have any questions. I don't see any questions here in the chat. I also don't see any people here in the chat at all. So let's see. I see a lot of times when the question I see in the support groups is, when should I have my child get surgery? I would say, and I can only speak as a patient and as a mom, both of my girls, one of my daughters is biological and one is adoptive. They both do not have this condition. Praise the Lord. They just have normal people eye problems. Typical, typical. If they did though, I would absolutely wait until the lens is shaking severely, because you do not want that to fall sublux and then take out the retina. That's always a possibility. It didn't happen with me, but I would wait until it is it is noticeably shaky, because that's just so awful to live with too. It's really hard for your brain because it doesn't know. It can cause a dominancy issue, and it can cause it's just really hard for your brain to take that in and know what to do with it. So I would try to wait. A little bit of shimmer. My eyes still, they call it shimmer, but I think it's iridocytis. My eyes will shake. they Google, but I don't see it very often. I only see it like if I'm looking in a mirror and there's light on my eyes. Um, but if it's like really wiggly and okay, I need to go get those taken care of. I would only go to an ophthalmologist in dealing with your eyes until you get to a very stable place. I am not able to wear contacts. I haven't tried in a long time. I think contacts were painful with all of my topography of my eyes kind of changed. So I haven't been successful in wearing contacts. So here are some things that I can't do, some limits, okay? I cannot drive at night. So I have not been driving at night since 2009. Uh, that can really be a bummer. I'm very thankful for all the people that have given me rides. So I really can't complain. I'm able to see, and I'm so thankful for that. Um, I am so thankful. If you're watching this and you've given me a ride, God bless you. Thank you very much. It can be very limiting to not have that. But I have a sweet husband. And now I have a 17-year-old daughter who can drive. So praise the Lord. Cannot drive at night. For a long time, I could not drive for long distances due to my eyes just getting tired. My eyes get tired about 10:30. I call it 10:30 eyeball, and you will start to just see them go. I do need prisms. These classes do not have prisms, but I do take online classes and I do teach online classes sometimes, and I have to have prism glasses to help the muscles focus. That's important. I do not. I am a small group leader for students. I get very nervous when they are throwing the ball around. I do not want to get hit in the head. I also do not do roller coasters with loops. I learned that I will go temporarily blind for about 30 seconds, and that is freaky and not worth the loop. And I told my doctor this, and he said, "We'll just stop doing that." Uh, uh, an, an amazing thing. Our family was in a horrible fly up. We were hit 70, going 70 by an F-250. God saved us. We flew up, hit the guardrails, flip, 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 flip. And as we were flipping, I hit my head on the B column and was screaming, "Jesus, Jesus, Jesus," until I blacked out and do have some brain damage from that. But praise the Lord, I'm alive. None of my family was hurt. I took all the damage. I'm so glad. Such a blessing. So amazingly, I went to the ophthalmologist afterwards, and they said, "Your lenses are stable. I mean, they wiggle a little bit." I cannot believe it. So believe it. So I hope that this has given you some hope. I'm 15 years into these lenses for the left eye and 13 years on this eye. And this coming August, actually. Yeah, so I think a question would be when to go in. Well, when your vision is just so very, very impaired, it's time. Remember to do the posterior chamber. Remember to take your drops. Um, remember that there's just always hope. And yeah, I think that's all I have for now. If you want to type a comment, hopefully I can see that and respond. If you'd like to subscribe, that'd be awesome. I hope to do more videos in the future. They may be more apologetics related, kind of a low budget apologist, and just share some more fun stories. So thank you so much. And I am praying for all the people that are watching this that do have ELEP or some eye trauma or some googly eye thing or just something that is just it's just hard. It's hard to live with, but you're making it every day and just keep going. Thank you so much.